Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be looking at something pretty intriguing today, the false light trap in the afterlife. And to do that, we've got some really interesting sources to draw from. We've got Dr. Joe Dispenza's work on breaking free from habitual patterns. And then we've got Journey of Souls, which goes into this whole spirit world and those who guide us through it. And then we've even got Matrix V with the possibility of alien manipulation.
It is a captivating mix. It really is.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff.
Yeah, and it really gets you thinking about what could possibly await us in the afterlife. And our goal today is to see if we can sort of connect the dots between these sources so that we can try and understand a little better this really complex and honestly kind of unsettling idea of a false light trap.
Oh, totally unsettling. I mean, one of the things that really struck me from Dispenza's work is how much we're all creatures of habit, even subconsciously.
Right.
It makes you wonder if those habits could actually make us vulnerable in the afterlife.
That's a fascinating question. And I think if we think about Dispenza's point about the body becoming the mind, it gets even more intriguing, If our physical sensations are dictating our thoughts and feelings here, imagine how potent that could be in a realm where, the physical doesn't even apply.
Right. It's like if we can't break free from these patterns here, what's stopping them from just becoming even more dominant after we die? And then you've got Journey of Souls, which paints this really beautiful kind of comforting picture of reuniting with loved ones after death. But then you start thinking, what if it's not really what it seems?
Exactly. It really raises that question. Are these actually our loved ones, or could it be something else, impersonating them, maybe even exploiting our desire to reconnect? And Journey of Souls also talks about these soul groups, which makes you think about the potential for kind of like an echo chamber effect.
Oh, you mean like being surrounded by people who reinforce our beliefs, even if those beliefs are actually part of the deception?
Precisely.
It's like the more comforting something seems, the less likely you are to question it.
Right.
Which could make us even more susceptible.
Absolutely.
And then there's the whole question of spiritual guides. We often assume that they're benevolent, but what if some of them are not what they seem? Journey of Souls even mentions these caretaker guides who are still learning themselves. So even in the afterlife, there might be different levels of experience and knowledge, maybe even some guides who haven't quite figured things out yet.
Right.
It makes you wonder, how do we know who to trust, especially in a realm where our normal senses might not even apply?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It really highlights the need for discernment, or perhaps especially in the afterlife.
Yeah, and to make things even more complicated, we've got Matrix V, which suggests that aliens might actually be manipulating human consciousness.
Yes.
And
while it might sound far-fetched, it forces us to consider, what if some of our desires, our beliefs about the afterlife, are actually implanted by beings with their own agenda?
Okay, now that is a seriously disturbing thought. Matrix V even suggests that aliens might have embedded commands within our DNA.
Right.
If that's true, could they be using those commands to steer us toward this fabricated afterlife experience? The false light trap.
That's a chilling possibility, isn't it? Almost like we're being programmed to walk right into a trap, and we wouldn't even know it.
So if this trap is real, how do we recognize it? What are the warning signs?
Well, that's what we're going to explore next. But if you think about it, the very things that might draw us in, like feelings of euphoria, the promise of instant enlightenment, could be the biggest red flags. It makes you realize that even in the afterlife, a healthy dose of skepticism might be essential. Right? Almost like those desires for instant gratification could actually blind us to the potential dangers.
Which makes me think about Dispenza's emphasis on self-awareness. If we don't even know our own weaknesses, our deepest desires, how can we possibly recognize when something or someone's trying to exploit them?
Exactly. And Dispenza talks about how our ingrained thought patterns and emotions and reactions, they create a sort of energetic signature. Could that signature attract similar frequencies in the afterlife, whether positive or negative?
So it's almost like we're broadcasting a signal. And if we're stuck in this loop of fear or self-doubt, we might unknowingly be drawing those kinds of energies to us, even after death.
That's a compelling point, and Dispenza really emphasizes the importance of breaking free from those limiting beliefs and patterns. It's like we need to change our frequency to become less vulnerable to manipulation.
So preparing for the afterlife isn't just about wishful thinking, it's about actual work.
Absolutely. It's about understanding ourselves. You know our shadows as well as our light.
This reminds me of the concept of losing your mind from Dispenza's book. And he's not talking about like going crazy, he's talking about transcending the limitations of our habitual mind.
Yes. It's about breaking free from the ego's grip, from that constant need for external validation.
And when we can release those attachments, as Dispenza suggests, that's when we can truly start to access our full potential, both in this life and the next. And remember that chart that Dispenza uses, the one that illustrates how different emotions vibrate at different levels.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the one that shows how like joy and gratitude resonate at much higher frequencies than fear and shame. It's fascinating how he connects emotions to actual energy levels.
Right. And that's such a key point when we're discussing the false light trap. If we're operating from a place of fear or guilt, we're literally attracting similar energies.
So the lower our emotional frequency, the more susceptible we might be to manipulation.
It's a sobering thought, isn't it?
It really is. So how do we raise our frequency? I mean, is it as simple as just thinking positive thoughts?
Well, Dispenza talks about surrendering those lower emotions to a higher power, allowing them to be transmuted into higher frequencies.
He even lists like some of the side effects of this surrender. Things like inspiration, joy, freedom, and gratitude.
It's a beautiful concept.
Yeah.
But it's not passive. It requires conscious effort.
This makes those encounters with loved ones described in Journey of Souls even more complex.
Yeah.
I mean, how can we know if it's truly them or if it's some entity taking advantage of our emotional vulnerability?
That's where intuition and self-knowledge become so crucial. You know, we need to be aware of any feelings of unease, or if something just seems incongruent.
It's like that feeling you get when someone's lying, even if you can't pinpoint why. You just know something's not right.
Precisely. And Journey of Souls also reminds us that even those who are genuinely there to help us may have limitations.
Right.
They use the term caretaker guides to describe those who are still learning themselves.
So we can't just blindly follow anyone's guidance, no matter how benevolent they seem.
Exactly. We need to develop our own inner compass, our own ability to discern truth from falsehood. And this ties into the alien interference concept from Matrix V.
Oh, right. Matrix V suggests that advanced extraterrestrial beings might be manipulating human consciousness.
Right.
Perhaps even creating these simulated afterlife experiences to control us. You know?
And while it sounds like science fiction, it raises valid concerns about the potential misuse of technology as our understanding of consciousness evolves.
So the question becomes, if we can't even be sure what's real, how can we possibly make informed choices?
And that's the challenge we face, not just in the afterlife, but right now. We need to cultivate critical thinking and discernment to navigate the complexities of life and beyond.
This makes me wonder, could all three of these sources be describing different aspects of the same phenomenon?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? You know, Dispenza talks about breaking free from the limitations of our minds.
Yeah.
Journey of Souls delves into the potential pitfalls of the spirit world. And Matrix V warns about external manipulation. Could these be different layers of the same deception?
Maybe the false light trap isn't one specific thing, but rather like a multi-layered system designed to keep us trapped.
And if that's the case, breaking free would require a multifaceted approach, developing self-awareness, homing our intuition, and remaining skeptical even in the face of, you know, seemingly blissful experiences.
It's like we need to be prepared to question everything, even the things that seem most comforting.
That's a key takeaway. But it's not just about being suspicious of everything. It's about developing discernment, about learning to trust our inner guidance.
Right. It's about finding that balance between openness and skepticism, between trusting our hearts and engaging our minds.
And Journey of Souls emphasizes that the journey of self-discovery is individual. What resonates for one person might not resonate for another.
Right. It's not about blindly following someone else's path. It's about finding our own way.
Exactly. And Journey of Souls describes how souls choose their lives based on the lessons they need to learn, the experiences they need to have in order to evolve.
So even the challenges we face could be opportunities for growth.
Absolutely. And those experiences shape our understanding of ourselves, our purpose, and even the nature of reality.
And Matrix V reminds us that our understanding of reality might be far more limited than we think. If there are beings with advanced technology who can manipulate consciousness, What does that say about our perception of free will?
It's a profound question, and Matrix V stresses the importance of trusting our intuition. Even if we can't fully comprehend the forces at play, our inner guidance can help us navigate those complexities.
So it's like, even if we're being manipulated on some level, we still have the power to choose how we respond.
Exactly, and that power of choice is what ultimately determines our path, both in this life and beyond.
This deep dive has been quite a journey so far. We've gone from the power of our habits to the possibility of alien interference, from the comfort of reuniting with loved ones to the need to cultivate our own inner compass.
It's been a whirlwind of ideas. We've delved into some pretty complex concepts and asked some big questions about reality, consciousness, and the afterlife.
And while we may not have all the answers, I think one thing is clear. The journey of self-discovery is an ongoing process, and it doesn't end with death.
It simply continues in a new form, with new possibilities and new challenges.
And that's what we'll explore in the final part of this deep dive. Almost like death is just another chapter in a much larger story. And the choices we make here affect the direction of the plot.
And Matrix V even suggests that this story might extend beyond our linear perception of time. They talk about simultaneous incarnations where our higher selves are experiencing multiple lifetimes at once.
Wait, so it's not just about past lives and future lives, but about multiple experiences all happening at the same time? That's a lot to wrap my head around.
It definitely challenges our typical understanding of time, but if we consider this possibility, it kind of adds another layer of complexity to the false light trap.
Because if we're experiencing multiple lifetimes simultaneously, wouldn't that make us even more vulnerable to manipulation? Like, how could we possibly keep track of all those different versions of ourselves?
That's where Matrix V emphasizes the importance of connecting with our higher selves, that part of us that exists beyond the limitations of time and space.
So it's about tapping into that larger, more expansive aspect of who we are.
Exactly. And that awareness can help us navigate those multiple threads with more clarity and discernment.
It's like we have this internal guidance system, this inner compass that can help us stay on course, even when we're facing these confusing experiences.
And cultivating that inner compass is a key part of preparing for the afterlife, according to all of our sources. Whether it's breaking free from those habitual patterns with Dr. Dispenza, or connecting with our soul group in Journey of Souls, or accessing our higher selves in Matrix V, the message is clear. The work we do on ourselves here has a huge impact on our experiences after death.
So it's not just about passively waiting for something to happen to us in the afterlife. We have an active role to play in shaping our destiny, both here and beyond.
Absolutely. And that shaping involves more than just gaining knowledge or following rules. It's about cultivating wisdom, discernment, and a deep connection to our true selves.
It's about trusting our intuition, questioning what doesn't feel right, and remembering that our goal is to align with our highest potential, that which is truly loving, wise, and compassionate.
And that alignment is the best protection we have against deception and manipulation.
So maybe the real false light trap isn't something imposed on us from the outside. Maybe it's the trap of our own limiting beliefs, our own fears and attachments that keep us from recognizing our true nature.
And breaking free from that trap takes courage, honesty, and a willingness to look beyond the surface.
It's about remembering that the journey of self-discovery is an adventure, and even the most challenging experiences can be opportunities for growth and transformation.
And as we've explored in this deep dive, that adventure doesn't end with death. It continues in a new form, with new possibilities and new challenges.
We've covered a lot of ground today. From the power of our habits to the possibility of alien interference, from reuniting with loved ones to cultivating our own inner compass.
It's been quite a journey. We've delved into some really mind-bending concepts and asked some big questions about reality, consciousness, and the afterlife.
And while we may not have all the answers, I think one thing is clear. The journey of self-discovery is a lifelong, perhaps even a life-after-life process.
And that process requires us to be open to new possibilities, to question our assumptions, and to trust the wisdom of our own hearts.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought. If the afterlife is a realm of infinite possibility, wouldn't it make sense that deception would also exist?
But by cultivating awareness, critical thinking, and a deep connection to our true selves, we can navigate these realms with wisdom and discernment, embracing the adventure of self-discovery with open hearts and open minds.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep shining your light.